Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of the Steambudds Podcast. I'm NWR Films, and I'm joined by my good friend
Thomas and James. Wow, this intro went very smoothly.
It did.
Yeah.
So, for the first episode of the podcast, I think we should be talking about some of our favorite Thomas episodes, and specifically our combined top 10 Thomas episodes, but our separate top 5 Thomas episodes, if that makes sense. Anything you would like to add?
Well, the list might not be perfect, and it might change like a week later, but nobody cares. We're gonna do this anyway. So
okay, so the way this is going to work is that one of us is going to start by saying their top number 5, and then we're going for example, if Thomas and James starts, they'll say their number 5, and then I'll say my number 5, and then they'll say their number 4, and then I'll say my number 4, and blah 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 until we get to our number 1s. So, do you want to start by explaining or talking about your 5th favorite Thomas episode?
Do I really need to go first? Fine. All right. Fine.
You didn't, but now you have to.
Fine. Jesus Christ. I don't really have an actual list and an actual order in which number 5 to 1, but I think number 5 would be Thomas and the Trucks.
Oh.
That was unexpected.
That is a classic.
It is a classic, that's why I chose it. But I think I mostly chose this one because of the music. The music, and specifically the theme for when he pulls the trucks, is incredibly nostalgic.
Yeah, I totally get what you mean. The Thomas and the Trucks, like, main theme, like the one where, like, Puff through Henry's tunnel and all that theme, and the runaway theme in the episode. But yeah, I do agree. It is a really good episode. Showcases Thomas's arc and stuff pretty well. And how he is characterized in the episode is pretty good.
Exactly. And despite the visuals looking a bit dated because season 1 and when Thomas bumps up to the buffers, he has the worst cross-eye in the entire series, if I can remember. Despite all of that, it's a pretty good story and episode in general.
I vastly prefer it than Thomas's Train.
Thomas's Train is painful. And I'm not saying, I don't mean the story, I mean how it's executed in season 1.
Yeah.
Like in the original books, he only went like a few meters. In the episode, to extend runtime, he goes halfway across the island. Like...
Yeah.
But yeah, that's...
Well, this isn't a top 10 worst Thomas and Friends episodes video. This is a top 10 best and favorite Thomas and Friends episodes. I think I'm going to go over to some more positive note and talk about my number 5 favorite Thomas and Friends episode, which is By George from season 5.
Ooh.
I really like this episode. It has some great George moments. I love how he tries and insult Thomas by calling him, like, I don't remember exactly what he calls him, but he just, what do you think of this puffball? And Thomas just puffs by and ignores him, and he just gets real pissed, like, you, which causes him to almost, what I like to call an attempted murder on Thomas, because Thomas literally just ignored him and made George feel insignificant. And then we have the iconic scene with the truck, that one little truck that flew up into the air and smashed down. Another murder. Sadly, the truck didn't have a face, so no lives were lost.
Sadly.
That came out.
No. Continue.
Yeah. I just really like George in this episode. It's a great follow-up to Steamroller, and I would even say that this is a better episode than Steamroller. Because now we get to see how George's consequences affect the entire island instead of just one specific area. I like the continuity with By George, with the fact that George was with the Skarloey engines at the beginning, and the episode kind of has a weird thing that a lot of, like, not a lot of episodes have, but it's kind of weird, where the episode starts off with like a Percy and George like episode, but then it transitions to Thomas, but then it transitions to Gordon, and it's like it's a little weird how it jumps like character and stuff. But I think it works for this episode because it's supposed to showcase George's consequences for the entire island.
Yeah.
So we get a lot of perspectives on different characters and how they tackle him, with Thomas ignoring him and Gordon brute forcing a truck and killing the truck. I also feel a little bit bad for Duck. Like, Duck literally did nothing in this episode. He was just chilling, and George decided to just, nah, I hate you. So I feel bad for Duck. But overall, I really like this episode. Oh, and the music. This is from season 5, and the music is perfect. I really like it. If there's one thing, like, really standout moment with this episode, it's the scene where Gordon is, like, whistling, but the whistle is, like, James's whistle. Not James's whistle, but, like, an Oliver whistle or something. And it's, like, a totally...
Really?
No, it's Duck's whistle. Gordon whistles, and it's, like, Duck's whistle. That's a problem with season 5, but it's, like, a standout moment in this episode that I just remembered for life. But yeah, that's my number 5.
Wasn't this also the episode where George paves over the track, making Thomas crash into a barn?
Yeah, that's the attempted murder I talked about.
That's my favorite part of the
it's
episode. I like attempted murder.
The workmen are really stupid for just listening to this steamroller to just pave over an active railway line. But okay, who knows?
Yeah.
So, your number 4.
I just have to say, you're way more prepared for this than me. I did not expect this much fucking information. Okay. Let me think. Now I have to pick a good one that sounds like a fourth one. Duncan. I just like this episode because Duncan is stupid.
Honestly, the episode doesn't really need anything more. It's just a fun Duncan episode.
Exactly, and the thing is, I know a lot of people like a lot of substance in episodes, but when I watch an episode, I'm more like, is it fun to me? And this episode is just fun to me.
It is really fun.
Like the idiocy of Duncan getting tangled in a truck and a workman not noticing, and him getting pulled up the incline to the edge, and then the suspense of it slowly snapping, and Duncan careening down the hill into a muddy pond.
I have to say, episodes like Duncan, where the people are just idiots, I like allow it because that's the point. It's just a comedic episode. While some other episodes where the workmen act stupid, but it's supposed to be taken seriously, just doesn't work. But Duncan is like perfect, like humorous episode in my opinion. It's really good.
Like that's a thing you could say with By George. Like the workman being stupid in that episode doesn't really make sense.
No,
because somebody is driving George and is looking at the road and thinking like, yeah, I can make this flat and no issues will arise. Like he is fired. He is fired. Like George gets punished, but George is not the one who caused the accident. George just said some words and that's it.
But on to Duncan. Anything more you want to add with the episode?
The only thing I don't really like about the episode is that they use the bigger scale O-gauge models. I get why they did. I get why. I'm getting too far away from the mic. I get why. But how can I word this? It would have just looked better with the smaller scale ones.
Yeah,
I think that's with all of them. But on the other hand, it fits with the style.
Yeah, I agree.
And the story is overall just good. And the set design. They look good, but also flat, like most large-scale narrow-gauge sets. Like, they look too small compared to Season 4.
Mm-hmm.
You can see I'm not prepared for this. Well, up to your... Let's go to your fourth one.
My fourth is... I originally had another episode on the 4th place, but I decided to switch it with this one because I think I like this one more, and that is Toad Stands By. I really like this episode for 2 reasons. Number 1, Oliver messes with the mafia. The trucks in this episode are kind of portrayed as the mafia, and Oliver he's a laughingstock of the mafia. Scruffy, he's like a mob boss controlling the entire mafia. And so I just find it really funny that Oliver's solution to just solving this issue with the mafia is kill the mob boss. Like, I think that's great. I think betraying the trucks, obviously this probably wasn't the intention, but I like to read it as such, as the trucks are portrayed as like the mob in this episode. And I think the real hidden gem of this episode is Toad, because he's really the mastermind. I mean, this is Toad Stands By. He is the one orchestrating the entire thing and making sure that Scruffy gets killed. I love the theory that Oliver didn't intend on Scruffy getting ripped apart, but Toad was the one that wanted him to be ripped apart. It's kind of not exactly portrayed well in the TV series, because in the railway series it is explained that Toad is the brake van of the train Oliver is like pulling with Scruffy and rips him apart, while in the TV series he's just literally standing by. So the fun theory is that Toad literally put his brakes on to make sure that Scruffy got ripped apart, and I just love that theory. I think that's so cool
that's brutal.
That Toad does that. Yeah,
it sounds like a Toad thing to do.
It does sound like a Toad thing to do.
Hiding his menacing side with a nice and cheery smile.
Yeah, I love that idea. And Oliver too. I honestly mad respect for Oliver to just take action for his consequences. Like, this is a season later, but Oliver, like, really, this episode should be the one called Oliver Owns Up, because here he is literally owning up to his mistakes. He takes responsibility. He realizes that, yeah, I'm the reason that the trucks are laughing at me, so I need to be the one to put a stop to this. And like, I like the scene where Toad like says, "I meant no disrespect, Mr. Oliver," but Oliver is like, "No, Toad, it's true. I am the one that made this. I have to clean it up." So honestly, mad respect to Oliver. He went from being a cocky dickhead in Oliver Owns Up to being like a really reasonable guy, and he really owning up in this episode.
Yeah, he really knows how to keep his pride.
Yeah. Also, the scene where Scruffy literally gets ripped apart. Excellent model work. It's classic Thomas. It's David Mitten. Obviously, it looks good. And the music, too. Like, the build-up of Oliver ripping apart Scruffy. The music in that scene is so intense. And Duck, like, cheering him on. It's so good. I really like it. And I don't know how I feel about Scruffy being rebuilt. In the books, it makes sense because he never appears again. But in a TV show, he gets rebuilt, but he never appears again. Like, there was so much missed opportunity with Scruffy. I think Scruffy in general is one of my favorite characters. I love Scruffy so much. So yeah, that's my fourth favorite episode.
That's a good pick. I might actually change one of mine now. And I'm specifically talking about Thomas and the trucks.
Oh, why would you change that episode?
Because I have a better one in mind.
Do you have a number 3 already?
We'll talk about the other one later, unless it's in your list. But my next one is Something in the Air.
I was so close.
Really like this episode. I love the model work. Just that one scene of Henry puffing. Oh no, that's Fish. Is it? No. I just love the model work in this. That's what I like. I love how they did the night scenes. I'm getting confused with Fish, but now I remember.
I was very close to putting Something in the Air on my list too. Like, I made an entire like top 20 Thomas list, and Something in the Air is like number 7th on my list. It's like, I really like that episode too. And I get why you're confusing Fish and Something in the Air, because they both like have Kipper themed nighttime shots, so I understand the confusion.
But it's also the crash. The crash is done really well. Although one thing I did find weird is how the track was already like slanted too much to the left before Henry went in. Like if it was it would have been more realistic if it was more straight ahead. But I get why, because Henry needed to go in the water, and otherwise he would have toppled off.
I think the explanation is that during the day the tides were lower, like there wasn't such high tide, but at the night the tides were really high, like it was really high tide, so the water was way higher up, and it like engulfed the track and stuff. I think that's what they were going for.
I suppose
I'm
it broke
not 100%
apart.
sure. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like when the high tide came, the track was just like, nah, we're dead. We're gonna take the L on. Ugh, sorry, microphone. We're gonna take the L on that one. So, but yeah, I really like the episode. Me too. What I like about it is Thomas and Henry's dynamic. I think that's a dynamic that is very slept upon in the show.
It is a very slept upon dynamic, yeah. Like it's mostly just Henry looking down on Thomas, which is something I don't think they did much with, apart from season one.
They didn't.
I think something in the
like
air.
I can't really name that many. I can't really name that many Thomas and Henry episodes. The only one I can think of is like this one and Thomas and the Toy Shop.
Well, Big Strong Henry is another one I can think of.
That's more of just a solo Henry episode.
True. But besides that one, most of Henry's future episodes are mostly about him being weak.
Yeah.
Which is sad. But yeah. Also, another thing I think they did... One thing is also the model sacrificing in this episode. Like, they engulfed so many models in water. Like, Henry would have been properly damaged and maybe even rusted after filming. I wouldn't be surprised if they had to, replace parts. And the part where they had him blowing water out of his mouth, it's a nice touch.
Yeah. One thing, I always remember with this episode is, they had to kill Grampus from tugs to make the Henry, splashing water out of his mouth. They just took the Grampus prop and, ripped out the mechanism, because in tugs, he had, the spraying water out of his mouth thing. So they just ripped out that mechanism and put it in Henry for that one scene. And I was like...
Really?
I salute you, Grampus. I salute you.
You're kidding. Is this actually... Wow.
Yeah, that's the same mechanism used for Grampus, I think.
I didn't know that. Wow, that's some nice trivia.
Yeah.
Anything else to say about this episode?
I don't have anything else to contribute to this episode.
Well then, down to yours. Your number 3.
Okay. My number 3 is Trust Thomas. I really like this episode, which, I mean, I like all of these episodes, but I really like this episode because I think it showcases another side of Thomas that a lot of the fandom at least sleeps upon, and that is that Thomas is really just a caring and good guy. It's just that sometimes when people push his buttons, he becomes a little bit of an asshole. But in this episode, it really just showcases that, he is a good guy. At his core, he just wants to help and make people happy. And I really like that. He sees that James is sick, and the first thought, just his natural instinct isn't to make fun of him. It's to just, hey, what's wrong? Is something the matter? And then he's like, oh, don't worry, I can help you out. James didn't say anything rude to him, so he's like, okay, I have no reason to be mean to him. I gotta help him. And I really like that. I just find this episode to be a really wholesome. Thomas... This episode is the perfect example of Thomas just being a friend. This episode feels like the reason why Thomas has so many friends. He goes out of his way to help Bertie, he goes out of his way to help James, and he's just a friendly guy in this episode, and I really just like that version of Thomas. And I like the subplot of the tar. I think that is a good connection. Thomas accidentally, helps out Bertie as well. And kind of the good thing is, if he hadn't had the crash, he wouldn't have talked to Edward, which then he wouldn't have found the tar. So technically, it was all the butterfly effect of him crashing No James playing sick, him crashing, and resulted in him helping Birdie. So we gotta thank James for pretending to be sick. Yeah, I just really like this episode. It's good crash. I think it has some really good moments, and it's just a wholesome episode in my opinion.
I have no words for that. That's just good. Really bad that I don't have words for that since this is a podcast, but it's true. So...
Well then, I guess we go on to your number 2.
My number 2. Now I have to pick wisely, because these two are... I like both of these equally.
Then you probably should do heads or tails.
Do I have a coin with me? I'm gonna actually grab a coin, just a second. Yeah. So I got a €2 coin. And one is going to be heads, one is going to be tails. Okay. Let me just write that down or else I'll forget. Okay. Let's see. Who is it going to be? It's going to be tails. Thomas and the special letter.
Oh.
Thomas and the special letter. Well, this episode kind of speaks for itself. It's not only is it a good story, you also get to see almost every single character up to that point. Every single engine gets a cameo. I like the fact that I like them adding stuff from outside Sodor into the lore. Like you don't get to see that much of outside Sodor in the show itself. So them going off Sodor is just, it's unique. And of course the crash, the main reason I like this episode. Thomas boasting the entire time to Oliver about how to do this, how to do that, and then him like breaking through the buffers, rolling off the mountain and then through a wall. Such good model work. Although you could also say that this wasn't Thomas's fault, it was the buffer's fault. I also like the cameo of Ben just staring downstairs, even though he doesn't say a single word and there was no context to him being there. Any thoughts on this episode?
Yeah, no, I really like Thomas and the special letter. Like you said, it has every character up to that point. The crash is pretty good, and the fact that we go outside of Sodor, yeah, it's all really good. I got really nothing else to add on this episode. I think you summed it up pretty well.
I also like the dynamic between Thomas, Percy, and Toby at the beginning.
Yeah, the only criticism I have is that Toby feels kind of out of character with the way like Thomas says like something's up, but then Toby's like, "What, the sky?" Like that is in the Railway series as well, but like it doesn't make sense for Toby to be confused about what something up meaning like that. That in my opinion doesn't make any sense.
No, that I get what you mean. That's more like a Percy thing to say.
Yeah, like Thomas saying something's up, and the person saying, "Hey, the sky?" But no, Percy, stop being stupid.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, good episode. Now off to your second.
Okay, my number 2 is Scary Engines.
I knew it. I knew this was coming. I was waiting for it.
I love this episode so much. I love it with 99.9% of my heart. It is a perfect reason for why I think Thomas, Percy, and Duck are the best trio in the show. I love their dynamic so well. So, the episode has great atmosphere, which is interesting for a season 6 episode. Like, this episode has a weird fascination with the color red, and I love it. Like the smelter's yard is red, the fireworks is red, the fire is red. I really like that. I just really like you have Thomas blue, Percy and Duck green being like contrasted with the red of the smelter's yard. Like if like Thomas had been replaced by James, like this episode wouldn't have been such as visually appealing, because then the smelter's yard would have contrasted with James and you wouldn't be able to notice James. I know that's really weird to say, but that's just my opinion.
I get what you mean. I get what you mean.
Yeah. Speaking of the sets, the smelter's yard, I think this is the first time we've actually seen... No, Stepney gets lost, never mind. But this is the first time we have actually seen the smelter's yard in like action, where engines are actually working there and stuff, and it isn't just Ari and Bert, which is interesting. Whereas Ari and Bert in this episode is like Halloween, the only time they have like a vacation day, and they just decide, you know what, we're gonna go and have some fun. But the main reason why I love this episode is Thomas, Percy, and Duck. Like,
yeah,
I think this episode is carried by their dynamic, because so you have Thomas, who's a little bit of a cocky idiot and stuff, and you have Duck, who's this like really reasonable guy, and it's like, Thomas, just stop. Just you're not impressing anyone.
You're not the main character.
You're not the main character. You're not him. But then he like Thomas like starts teasing Percy because Percy is afraid, and then Duck is actually a really good like role model in this episode, because he sees that Percy is scared and stuff, and so he's like, okay, Percy, we gotta go, but we can leave Thomas here and stuff. So Duck is actually a really good guy in this episode, because he gets Percy out of that environment that he's scared of, leaving Thomas there to teach him a lesson. But then the funny thing is, then Thomas gets scared, like he, without anyone to tease, he's all alone with his own thoughts, and so he starts getting scared, like oh no. And so then he starts running away, and then the episode could have ended there with like Percy and Duck laughing at him. But the great thing that makes this episode from an A tier to an S tier is that then Percy starts feeling bad for Thomas, because Percy knows exactly how it feels to be scared. Like Percy's way more connected with his emotions. And like Duck, Thomas got what he deserved. But Percy's just so genuine and compassionate that he sees Thomas running away, and he starts feeling bad for Thomas, because again, he knows how it feels to be scared. So then he goes after Thomas, and they both start apologizing. Then Thomas apologizes to Percy, like Percy like accepts it and explains that, hey, it's okay, Thomas. No one's no one's brave all the time, and it's just a really heartwarming ending. Like, Thomas, he didn't deserve it. Like, he got what he deserved with being punished and stuff. It's just such a heartwarming ending. Like, I really just like this episode for the ending alone, but also the entire atmosphere and their dynamic.
I'm impressed. No, but you're completely right. Their dynamic in that episode is so good. And you're right about them being the perfect trio in the show.
Like, if I were to explain it a little bit more simple, Duck is a better friend to Percy than Thomas is. But Percy can just see through Thomas's like main character syndrome, that he realizes Thomas, he needs someone, and I can be that one. So I think their dynamic just works really well. And Duck doesn't see through Thomas's. He sees Thomas as just a jerk, whereas Percy can see like, no, he's just afraid and stuff, so I gotta help him. And so I just really like their dynamic. I think it's cool. So now we're on to your number one.
Now I want you to actually guess this one, but because I think you already know what it is.
I already know exactly what it is.
Yeah.
It is from season 6.
It is.
And, wait, let me just... Thomas and... let me just do a quick Google search to make me sound smart. It is from season 6, and it is the... Oh no, that's the wrong Wikipedia page. Wait, give me a second. Okay, it is from season 6, and it is number 152. It's the no 152 episode of the entire series. What episode is it in the series actually? No, what wiki page? Say what episode. It don't say of the entire show. Just say what episode it is of season 6.
Just go to the season 6 wiki page.
Okay, yeah, episode 22 of season 6. Enough beating around the bush. Just say it.
It's Thomas and the jet engine.
Yeah.
That is, I think. I know what I said about Thomas and the Special Letter and Thomas and the Jet Engine, but that is my definitive favorite episode in the entire season. And I know that's stupid. I know it's nonsensical, but this episode is just so much fun. Because of how stupid it is.
Yeah.
Thomas gets a special. It's, for some reason, it's a jet engine. Even though there aren't even planes on the island, up to that point. At least not planes that would need such a big jet engine. Somehow, Cranky's hook activates jet engine and hijinks ensues. And I also love Thomas and Gordon's dynamic. I know it's pretty simple in this episode, but it's strong nonetheless. Like, it's still Gordon looking down on Thomas the entire time, like, I'm the greatest, I'm the best, I'm the fastest, I'm molest.
Oh, I'm the greatest.
Exactly. And then Thomas just casually coming up behind him and just being, hi Gordon, bye Gordon, and just whooshing away. It's so well done, and
that is a great moment.
And I love how you can actually see speed in this episode. It's one of the same things I liked about Thomas and the trucks. Like, I know in that one scene where Thomas goes like 100 miles an hour, I know it's unrealistic, but it's fun, and that's the point. And I know
episode.
I know the set design is a bit lacking. The set design is kind of shite. And I know in the remaster, you can just see the pole where they connected the pole on Gordon during the POV sequence. But it's just, and the score is so much fun. Just a mix of Gordon's theme, Thomas's theme, the Runaway theme, and old-timey music in general. It's just fun. And that's why
an episode like
continue.
Yeah, no, I agree. An episode like Thomas and the Jet Engine is completely allowed to be unrealistic because that's the point. It's supposed to just be a fun episode. And yeah, I agree with everything you're saying.
That's why that's my all-time favorite Thomas episode. And now to your number one, because I have another one to talk about, unless this is the one.
I don't think this is going to be the same. So, I have flip-flopped between my favorite episode a lot of times. A long time ago, I even made a video about my top 15 favorite Thomas episodes. And that whole list would have to be redone. But my number one is still the same, and that is Thomas Percy and Old Slow Coach. This is just a very heartwarming episode. It has kind of two plots going on, but they are both connected in such a good way. So first off, starting off, Thomas, Percy, and James's dynamic work really well. Like, Thomas and Percy, they're just these little kids laughing at James while James is burning alive. That is just hilarious. But obviously they understand the seriousness of the situation at hand. But I really like the scene where Thomas and Percy are at the scrapyard and then they pass through all of Thomas's dead brothers and Gordon's dead brothers and stuff. That doesn't give a shit about them.
The fact that they're just on Sodor.
Yeah. Then I'm surprised Thomas isn't traumatized by all of his brothers being just dead on Sodor.
But why are they all on Sodor? That's my question. Why are all these classes of engines on Sodor? Like, does the UK just drop all of their old engines on Sodor? Or were there more engines on Sodor, which the top had just scrapped? Like,
Like the real world reason is just for set dressing and stuff.
yeah.
But what if like the ironworks is like, oh, it's kind of like Barry Scrapyard, where they like not salvage, but like they are contracted by British Railways to scrap engines and stuff. That would be cool. Someone should write a story about that, and by someone I mean me. But anyway,
I'm stealing that
back
idea.
to Thomas.
Thank you.
No, don't. Okay, but anyway, back to Thomas person, old slow coach. I just really like that they see this coach in need, and they have to do something. Like, this coach is going to die, but like, what can they do? What's the purpose of a coach? And then we obviously have James, like, in the open countryside, but then his tankers get caught on fire, and I just love the fact, like, that's real fire. Like, the props were actually burning. Like, there was a chance that James could have caught fire and melted, and I just, honestly, a world where James would have melted, would have been saved.
Would have been hilarious.
It would have been hilarious.
I would have died. Imagine if no, there can't be, because we've already found all the season 5 bloopers.
Yeah.
Imagine if there was just a
music.
blooper of James just melting into the ground, and you can just see his face, and you. Continue.
Yeah, that would be that'd be hilarious. But the music in this episode really help to like show the seriousness of some situations. Like, the music that plays whenever there's like a fire is really intense and like really almost scary. Like, obviously not like horror movie scare, but it's like worrying and like, oh no, shit's about to happen. And really heartwarming ending with them finding a use for old slow coach. It's the ending is kind of ruined by the fact that old slow coach appears in other episodes as just a regular coach. Like, she's supposed to be a beach hut. Is she supposed to be like a workman's work hut? But okay, fine. I guess we're just going to ignore that fact and just make her a regular coach, and then she never appears again. But that doesn't really distract from this episode. Also, season 5, it has great sets. I love all of the sets. The scene where Thomas and Percy like improvise with using their water is honestly really smart, and I'm surprised that the firemen didn't think of that. Like, their tank engines, they have water inside of them. They should be, But then again, the engines are alive, so the engines are alive. So it would be kind of, if they were asking the engines, hey, could we use your water? It'd be kind of like asking a fellow human, like, hey, this building is burning down. You have like 70% water. We got to use that water to extinguish the fire in this building. But yeah, it's fine. I can overlook that. There's lots of fire in this episode, and I think the model work is really good with all that fire. So yeah, I just love this episode. It has a really good ending. The dynamic between Thomas, Percy, and James is great. James does kind of fade out in the halfway point. He just kind of stops existing. But he's not really the main character, so that's fine. It's about Thomas and Percy, and yeah, that's why I really like this episode. It's my favorite episode of the entire show.
That's a nice one. That's a nice one to not end on, because I still have one.
Oh.
I have a bonus one. I'm kind of jostling between two, actually, but I think I have one. Busy going backwards.
That's interesting you say that, because there's no because it's just a really good episode, and I was debating on having that on my list. Fun fact, like I said, I have a top 20 Thomas list.
Yeah.
And Busy Going Backwards is actually number 6.
That's what I thought.
It's just really good.
I'm always going backwards, Mr. Oliver, but I have forward-thinking views. It's just...
What is that supposed to mean?
Let's not question Toad's fetishes, shall we? But I love how Toad almost kills many people in this episode. And I love it. And I love how you can slightly still see Toby's chassis during the runaway scene.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, this isn't really Toad's fault. It's the trucks. Which, again, the trucks are kind of like the mafia here. They see someone like They like, no, we gotta take him out. We gotta take him out. And so they orchestrate this plan to take out Toad, which doesn't work, but Toad does end up getting covered in shit, so that's pretty funny.
Yeah, that is pretty funny. But yeah, I think that's kind of it.
Yeah, those were our combined top 10, or I guess 11 Thomas episodes. Because you decided to feel different.
Of course I feel different. What else did you expect?
So, any final thoughts?
Well, I hope somebody actually listens to the end of this episode. Because I know most people will probably stop at like 15 or maybe 10 minutes, but if you make it till the end, be proud of yourself. Be proud that you were one of the few people who actually made it till the end.
If I had to give any final thoughts, it's we never got to any post-season 7 episodes here. It's all classic series, so
yeah.
I think that is telling.
Well, trust me. 2 episodes were very close on getting onto my list post-season 7.
Yeah, me too. Like, if I'm also going to give a little bit of a bonus episode, I was debating on having Bradford the Brake Van. I really like that episode. It's a fun episode from season 20. But it didn't make it, so womp womp.
Womp womp.
I'm sorry, Bradford.
Well, both of the episodes I was going to add were Fish from season 8 or which one was it? Thomas Saves the Day.
Yeah.
Those 2 almost got in on the list, but the others I chose were way better, so I was like, no, I'll just scrap those.
Yeah, but they didn't. So
good.
Yeah, that were our Thomas episodes. I hope everyone enjoyed listening to all of this, and please support our Steambudds Podcast so that we can continue and
yeah,
not only have one episode. So yeah,
but
Thomas and James,
episodes.
Get to editing this episode, please.
Oh yeah. We'll see. Maybe I'll spend like 4 months on it, like I did with the original one, which we'll get to later. But yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you in the next one.
Yeah, goodbye.
Goodbye.